All right. Hello. Hello, hello. There we are. Hello, folks. Welcome to Critical Conversations for September 13th, Friday the 13th, in the year of our Lord, 2024. I'm glad you could join me live today. I'm glad you could join me today. My day has been okay. How's your day been? I hope it's been all right. We have things to discuss. As you can see, I am not joined by Mel. She is she's just got the aches and pains of a Friday after work, of a long week of work, and she's chilling, and so we're letting her do that. I am having relatives visit this weekend. My mom is flying out, and in fact, in a couple hours after the show here, I will be going to pick her up at the airport, and she'll be with us this weekend. I did not ask her, and I don't have any plans of having her on my show on Sunday or anything. But if she wants to be, we might do that for the Q&A show. Anyway, that's happening. So kind of looking forward to that. And let's see. Let me get right to the, I don't have Mel's quote of the week because she, I guess it is taking the night off. So let me give you the Snuggles Not Struggles cam though, because here is our sweet little bundle of furry joy, our little Benson. This is him up on our bed. Mel took this today with him up there. He's just totally, wow, he is in chill mode. I haven't actually even seen this whole video. Oh, there he is doing his lip smacking thing. Now this is the thing that kind of drives me a little crazy noise wise. He is so cute, but that little tongue goes out to wet his nose or whatever he's doing there. I think he's wetting his nose, and it's just this kind of lip smacking sound that is awesome. But he'll just unapologetically go to town there on his nose. Anyway, there he is snuggling and definitely not struggling. Oh, looking right at the camera there. Oh, man. He has been amazingly supportive this week, by the way, emotionally and all the rest. Oh, there we go. So anyway, there's our Snuggles Not Struggles cam for you this week. All right. So we have papers. I have papers tonight. I don't know. Every week, I think about and present, some piece of information or subject matter or something like that. But if y'all have any suggestions or anything for things you want me to discuss, or you feel, should be or would be better as live content or whatever, definitely do let me know. If, yeah, I'm just curious, you know what I mean? Because I see other live streamers who get thousands of live stream viewers while they're live streaming, and I don't. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm really not sure. But I'm just going to kind of keep doing what I know how to do, and that is we're going to go over some stuff tonight. Because I think this is kind of interesting and important. I've been deep into research the last quite some couple months now, and really heavy into reading. I got a whole stack of books. I'm finally getting to my book queue of books that I've got here on cult recovery, and I'm diving into all this research on this and some stuff that I've not even read myself. I've read parts of or bits of. I've even interviewed some of the authors, but there's knowing what they're talking about, watching interviews with people, and then they're sitting down and actually reading their books. And boy, are some of these really, really good. And and useful advice, very, very interesting. But I'm not just reading for, you know, what people have written about, but what people haven't written about, or how has this been approached and how has it not been approached? Because I have a few ideas in my own, in how I'm putting my book together that I'm writing right now on cult recovery. And I thank you, Xenu, for your comment there. I have an approach that I haven't seen anybody else take yet. I've seen an awful lot of approaches of, you know, do this or do this or do this, sort of offering, you know, sort of, well, do this therapy or do that therapy or try this approach. And I don't want to do that. I don't have a 12-step program for people on cult recovery. I have information and education to offer, because I think that this road is one that we have to carve ourselves out of the sort of swamp or desert or whatever, you know, analogy you want to use, that we got ourselves into as cult members or as victims of abuse, of coercion. And there are definitely guides and help, you know, path markers, I guess you could say, that sort of help you along the way in a general sense. But I really don't like people who offer, you know, 12-step programs, let's say, you know, like that, like, okay, well, if you just do this and this and this, at the other end of it, we'll give you a certificate that you're a normal person. You know, it's like, oh, I can be a real boy. You know, it's like not, I don't think that's the way to go about this. And so, so I'm reading other people's works on this to learn how to avoid that as much as I am seeing what has come before. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Cool. Thanks, guys. So let's do some of that work. We've got some good stuff. In fact, this comes out of some of the reading that I was doing, and was like, oh my gosh, what an incredible set of information, and how incredibly useful and important and pervasive this is to not just cult recovery, but our entire life. And this is why I labeled the show tonight, called the show tonight, the 4 biggest cult traps. Let's just get into this. They're the biggest cult traps because if cults, as I have been saying for years, are about dialing up to an exaggerated or harmful or abusive level normal everyday urges and emotions and reactions and beliefs that we have. And I think that's a great way to think about cults, is everything is dialed up to 11, like, you know, in Spinal Tap, right? It goes up to 11. It's exaggeratedly high. It's ridiculous. I mean, you might as well say, you know, it goes up to 20, it goes up to 99, you know, it just goes beyond where it should be going. Rational people who interact with each other in rational ways can be emotional, but they don't let their emotions take control of them, and they don't allow them, and they don't allow their ideas or their beliefs to justify hurting or abusing or even beating on their fellow human beings, much less their children or their spouses. You know, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on because of the way we think about our beliefs. Well, when you think about why do people have belief, what needs, what things are we fulfilling with our beliefs, and the depths of our neediness as human beings, then you can start to understand why people can exaggerate or go so far with their beliefs and with what they do with them. It's bad. People can get really bad with this. And the reason why is because it's built on some existential realities that every single one of us have got to deal with at some point in our lives. There's not one human being who gets to avoid these 4 things. But how we deal with these 4 things says well, as I kind of wrote it here, you know, the core conditions of human existence are reflected by these 4 existential realities. And we'll get to what they are. These are facts that we cannot escape from, although it is a very natural tendency across all human cultures over time to try. Most people try to avoid these facts literally like the plague. They think about these as harmful, negative, bad things. A lot of people do. It could be said that all of philosophy and religion evolved as a progressive series of questions and answers about just these 4 things. Ultimately, how we deal with these realities defines who we are and how satisfied we are with our life and our existence. So, the first of those, of course, and as I'm sure you guys can see it coming with existential realities, the first of these is our mortality. The fact that our lives are finite. This is something that very few human beings actually deal very well with, because we adopt beliefs and ideas that allow us to deny the fact of this. Denies our death, denies our future, denies the death of other people, the fact that that is happening, and there is not one thing that the richest or poorest or kindest or worst person can do about it. Has nothing to do with any part of your character or your flaws or your strengths. None of that stands in the way of your mortality. And Peter Thiel, super venture capitalist, billionaire, tech bro, and a whole bunch of other futurists and transhumanists are trying so hard with all their money and all their power and all their king's horsemen and all of the, to put that life back together again. No, I don't want to die. I don't want to get old. Too bad. Too bad. And you can drink all the orange juice and get all the sunlight and do all the tanning rays and anything else you want. Ain't going to stop it. So this is the fact, right? Every human being faces the inevitable reality of death. The awareness of our finite existence drives existential contemplation and underscores the temporality of life. This truth often leads people to question the meaning and purpose of life. That's a pretty big one. And what I thought I might do is I thought I might go over the 4 and then go into how cults or predatory people, you might say, or how we as human beings are so vulnerable to these 4, you could say, weaknesses, are these 4 things that drive our behavior. Okay, let's put it that way. The second one, if mortality is the first one, the second one is the fact of freedom and responsibility. These 2 things go together. They're opposite sides of, maybe not opposite sides of the coin, but certainly one exists because of the other and vice versa. I've never know how to say this guy's name. There's Jean-Paul Sartre. I don't know. Anyway, I know I butcher everybody's names, but I really, really mess up the French ones. Anyway, existentialists like Jean-Paul here argue that humans are condemned to be free, quote unquote, condemned to be free, meaning we are free to make choices. But with that freedom comes the burden of responsibility. One invokes the other. We are responsible for our actions and the meaning we create in our lives, which can be both liberating and overwhelming. Whether you want it or not. See, this is one of these things that's like, I often compare this to like eating or sleeping or something, right? Like these things that we don't have any choice about. Well, one of the things we don't have any choice about is the fact that we have choices, and that those choices create action And those actions have consequences. No matter what we do, including doing nothing, there will be consequences. There are effects. And we who did those actions have to then be responsible. I caused it. I did it. I'm responding to the effects that I have created. The consequences are mine to respond to. That's what it means to be responsible, right? So despite what every single cult out there will tell you, that, you know, every single thing anybody ever does anywhere is on you. No, it's not. You know, no, it's not at all. But the things that you did, yeah, you get to do, you do get to have some responsibility for those things. Sarah. Okay, thank you, Leslie. Boy, I just butcher those names. It is horrible, because I know I probably come off like this illiterate. You know, like, who's this guy? How is he talking about existentialists? We can't even say the guy's name. Okay, so freedom and responsibility. This is obviously, all of us can immediately see, I think, where we fall down on this, how this is a pillar of one of these four, you know, existential realities, because there are a lot of people out there who don't want choices, or who are overwhelmed by choices or overwhelmed by responsibility. And this isn't necessarily a place I think people get to naturally. I think they're traumatized into it. And I think that, you know, we are unjustly punished as a child. We learn the lessons that, you know, punishment can be random and awful and very unjust. And this sets up, you know, this sort of thinking of, oh, consequences are bad, responsibility is bad, I don't want that. I'd rather have somebody else tell me what to do. We'll get to that, right? Sartre. Sartre. Okay, good. All right. The third one is isolation. Existential aloneness. It's another way to describe this. While humans seek connection and belonging, existentially, we are alone in our subjective experiences. No one can fully understand or share our inner consciousness, our thoughts, or our emotions. This existential isolation points to the fact that we are ultimately alone in our quest for meaning and identity. It's empowering, but it is also overwhelming, the aloneness that is the reality of us. And if you start going down the rabbit hole of neuroscience and consciousness and ego and what these things actually are, and what are awareness, what is this awareness being aware of, and that kind of thing, you really get down to this zero-sum game, you know, where there's just, yeah, it's you're alone, baby. It is you. And no one else can really get all the way into your head, or can ever really be you know, in the same space you are. You know, L. Ron Hubbard sort of put this thing out there of occupying the same space, you know, and the total understanding would somehow be this complete affinity, this complete union of occupying, you know, same space, same time, all that. You know, it just doesn't happen. It's impossible. And again, this is another one of these huge, overwhelming truths that can appear to be an infinite blackness, you know, that you feel you're in the middle of, and no one else, you know what I mean? Like it's scary, it's terrifying, in fact. You know, what do little children complain about in the dark, right? They're alone, they feel alone, and then they are terrified because maybe they're not alone. That too. It goes both ways. But people being alone, isolation, how do you torture someone? How do you drive somebody crazy? Isolate them. And yet the reality is we are alone. So there's a little bit of a paradox there, isn't there? Like, you know, this gets all philosophical. And yet the fact of the matter is that we are, and we can accept that, or deal with that, or learn to live with that, or not. And if we can't, or we don't want to, or we have trauma or troubles or problems with that, then we can look to other gurus or people to try to convince us that no, 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 you and me bonded together forever, soulmates, right? You'll never be alone. I mean, is this not a line that predators use? Again, we'll get to that. Okay. Finally, the number 4, the fourth one is meaninglessness, right? Search for meaning. Now, it's touched on in the other ones. The other ones sort of drive the existence of this existential reality. But the real core point of number 4 is not that you are going to search for meaning. The point is there is no meaning. None. None. There's none. Except, of course, what you make. That's the real point, is in a universe that may not inherently provide meaning, humans are tasked with creating their own meaning or purpose. The realization that life does not come with a predefined purpose can evoke a sense of existential anxiety, but it also empowers individuals to find or create their own meaning through relationships, work, creativity, or other pursuits. So, how do cults, how do predators use these? If these are the big core realities that most human beings struggle most of their lives to even recognize or come to terms with, right, or come to a place of acceptance of, then it would be pretty obvious that these would be entry points for cults. Because what do most cults, spirituals, religious, even non-religious, but really, this really goes to the religious ones heavily. What are they offering? What are they promising? What's the carrot you're chasing? One or more of these 4 things. Almost guaranteed. Almost absolutely. In fact, I can't think of a single exception when it comes to spiritual or supernatural or religious cults. Every one of them goes into here, right? Yeah, good point, Parasocial. That's absolutely right. So, mortality. This is obviously a big one. This was one of my big buttons. One of my huge buttons as a Scientologist was my fear of dying. And I didn't have to deal with it. And there's 2 sides I wanted to point out about this when it comes to these 4 things is cults can do 2 things with this, sometimes at the same time. They will take the existential reality, the fear of it, and they will use the fear to keep you there or get you there, but they will also change your mind about that existential reality so as to give you a false sense of security by assuring you that that existential reality no longer applies to you. And that, I believe, is where the real power of cults is generated from. Is a kind of not active denial, because instead it's a new belief that this whole thing, no, you don't have to worry about that anymore. For example, mortality. Well, in Scientology, the core belief is that you are, in essence, an immortal spiritual being who cannot die. And once you accept that belief, I've said this for years, and I don't know, I think sometimes it goes over people's heads or they don't quite get the importance of what I feel this is very important to understand about Scientology, is this immortality carrot, this bit, right? Because it directly addresses one of these 4 pillars, one of these 4 existential points. Cults frequently exploit the universal fear of death by offering a promise of eternal life, salvation, or some form of transcendence beyond mortality. They may claim to have secret knowledge about life after death, which is exactly what Scientology does, or promising that only through their teachings can members escape death or achieve immortality. Every time you've ever heard any Scientologist anywhere say, you're going to lose your eternity, it's your eternity, that word is just another word for immortality, for, you know, for endless life. A cult might lure recruits by stating the world is coming to an end soon. Every single apocalyptic cult. But by joining their group, followers will be saved from death, either through divine intervention or by physically surviving an apocalyptic event. And the tragic irony of this is Heaven's Gate, Marshall Applewhite, promised transformation, not death. None of them thought they were killing themselves. They thought they were shedding this version of themselves and transforming into a new level and kind of existence, you know, up in the spaceship. So, you know, it's really quite maddening how backwards and opposite world people can get because of their fear of this. They can kill themselves because they're afraid of dying. I don't even have words for, you know. In a way, Red Pill, certainly meaning, yes. Red Pill asks, do groups like Est and the Forum attempt to answer one or more of the 4 points that you brought up tonight? In a way, they seek to certainly address meaninglessness or purpose. And they definitely address, every cult addresses freedom and responsibility and choice. Every one of them. And that's because that's not just a supernatural or spiritual thing. Scientology has definitions or ideas, so does the Forum, so does NXIVM, of responsibility and choice and how you know, engage or execute those in your life. They bind your choices and convince you that you have infinite choice. You know, you're fully self-determined while you're given a set of binaries and this is all you get to decide on. So there's there's a lot of misrepresentation and loaded language and, you know, goofiness involved with how cults sell it to you, but every one of them does address choice and responsibility in some way, and almost all of them, again, spiritual or not, address isolation in terms of offering community and the meaningless question. Okay, and I sort of flash through everything there and answering that, but let's go into a little bit more detail. In terms of, this isn't just about cult recruitment either. It's also about sustaining belief. I'm often asked why people would stay in an abusive cult, abusive relationship, bad situation. How about because you're going to be an immortal spiritual being as a result of staying in it, and if you leave, you're losing it, or you're not sure you're going to get it. That sounds like a pretty good reason to stay, even though they're beating on you. This is temporary. My life is forever. I can deal with, I can buckle down, I can be the martyr right now. I used to tell myself this. Because you want that prize. So this has an awful lot to do with retention also, these beliefs. And this is why getting a person to believe that they have risen above these things is so powerful for keeping them in. It'll override, because it's so basic, so powerful, it will override so many other things like sexual abuse, financial abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse, if you will, all of these things. These will, you know, the need for these and the desire and the belief in these can be so strong because there's such a powerful reality that people will endure years of abuse on the promise that these things are being handled or dealt with, or that they don't have to deal with the reality of purposelessness or aloneness or death. Um, Yeah, the fear of death is transformed into a dependency on the cult's promise for survival or transcendence. This fear reinforces their commitment, making it difficult to leave because leaving would mean facing mortality without the safety net. But conversely, they can also overcompensate by turning this fear into an obnoxious or exaggerated kind of security that their afterlife is secure and they will never die. When it comes to freedom and responsibility, cults often target individuals who are overwhelmed by the responsibilities of freedom and decision making in the modern world. And the more social media and internet exposure has overwhelmed people's psyches and attention and ability to cope and information storage, and I think all of these things have been kind of overwhelmed by the sort of avalanche of information and views and stuff out there. Doesn't it feel overwhelming? I mean, surely I'm not the only one who's felt this way. Cults will target that, and they'll offer structured beliefs in a community where choices are made for you. There's a rigid structure, there's a schedule, there's rules, there's a dogma. We got it all for you, right? We have unreasonable demands, double binds, bounded choices, and no responsibility for you whatsoever as long as you do, everything we tell you, you will have unlimited freedom and power. Sounds great, right? A cult might offer a rigid, controlled template to follow in walking its path, a bridge to total freedom, a path to immortality, a wheel, that you turn to, take your next step or whatever. And they're binding the members' choices to a small number of binaries. It's yes, no's. It's black and white. This is how it's done. If you want to know why people think in black and white terms, it's because they're gotten there. It's the boiling frog in the boiling water phenomena. They're not really usually aware of how it's happening to them while it's happening. But they end up feeling safe from the chaos of life's predicaments and will use their beliefs and dogma as a shield, convincing themselves that they are above worldly concerns or the trap of modern living. The Scientologists will call the world at large a prison, and everybody's in a prison. This is a prison planet. It's all those people out there who don't have any choices, who don't have any responsibilities. We're the ones who have ultimate self-determinism, pan-determinism, as they even would call it in Scientology, where I can determine what y'all are up to as well as what I'm up to because I'm such a superior being, right? And it's like this. You wonder how they get so arrogant and narcissistic. It's because they're pushed and pushed and pushed in this direction by these beliefs and they feel so empowered. This is Scientologists, this is Moonies, this is all these groups. They feel so powerful because they've got this secret sauce that puts them above, again, these realities. In terms of staying in, inside the cult, members are often encouraged to believe that the leadership or the cult doctrine knows what is best for them. By following the group, members, they surrender personal responsibility and place their fate in the hands of the cult because they know that they can't deal with their life or their choices or their consequences. So just give it over to the cult, right? I don't need to make difficult decisions anymore. Our leader knows what's best. And this can, again, feel empowering. It doesn't necessarily feel when it's happening like it's limiting or you're having something taken away from you. Look at all this freedom you now have to do and work and play and create and do all this stuff for the cult, of course. For the leader, you want to show his, your admiration and your love for him, right? Right? With all this time you have now where you don't have to worry about all those difficult decisions like having a house or having a car or mortgage or kids. Sea Org, right? Let's take all that away. You don't have to worry about any of that. And let me tell you, I think I've said before, but let me reiterate that as a 25-year-old struggling staff member in Santa Barbara who'd been working 2 full-time jobs between the org job that I did 40, 50, 60 hours a week and my other 40-hour week full-time job, whether it was office work or sales work or whatever it was I was doing, I was tired. I was sick of it. I was tired of not just working. I don't mean I was tired of work. I had energy like an Energizer bunny when I was 25 years old. I had limitless energy. I was tired of playing by all these rules and feeling so constricted by having to pay rent and pay this and do that and taxes and, can't I just do Scientology full time? This is kind of my frustration is I just wanted to save the world, damn it. And so I fell right into this trap of, get all that away from me. The Sea Org will take care of all of it. I won't have to worry about clothes or food or a place to live. Look at all this stuff. I'm just going to be able to work, right? And I didn't have the idea I was going to end up on the RPF or I was going to be sandblasting the side of the building or tarring the roof in the summer. I thought I was going to be doing constructive work, good work, helpful work, helping people. I thought I was going to be doing that work, So I saw my freedom from responsibility of life and jobs and taxes as this massive feature, this massive, like promotion, like, wow, what a lucky opportunity I have for my life to be able to just go full time saving the world. How convenient. What was the appeal of the Sea Org ideologically? How do you do Scientology? I'm not sure I understand your question, Bud, but the appeal, if you're asking me, the appeal was because they were saving the world. I mean, the ideology was Scientology, and it was bringing Scientology to the masses, right? It was that kind of a thing. Okay, let's take a look here at this next one. Isolation, existential aloneness, right? Cults are particularly effective at targeting individuals who feel isolated, lonely, or disconnected from society. That is definitely true. They offer the promise of belonging, community, and unconditional love, providing a sense of family and solidarity that fills the void of existential aloneness. For example, a person might feel misunderstood, right, or cast out, or maybe they get bad with their family or something, or their family dynamics are all fucked up, or they just got fired, and they're even afraid to like go home or something. They don't know what to do. So the offers of belonging, community, the love bombing. When you're in that place, it's like you got an empty glass and somebody's just filling it with water and you're parched, right? When you're getting love bombed and you feel like this, it doesn't feel like love bombing. It feels like somebody finally understands you. Look at these wonderful people who are taking their time to care about me. Man, I wish the real world was like this. I wish the rest of the world was like this. How come people can't be like this? It's water to a starving, thirsty man. Person who feels misunderstood, isolated, may be drawn in, and recruitment can emphasize that, but also it keeps them in. Again, right? Community. If I leave, I won't have any friends. I won't have any family. Nobody's going to love me. Nobody's going to understand me. At least with these people, maybe this isn't the best group of people, and maybe these people beat on each other, or maybe these people never eat or never sleep or do all this crazy stuff. Maybe maybe there's even like crimes being committed here. But if I leave, I got nobody. I got nothing. And look at this uncaring world. Look at what the cult leader has told me. Look at what the guru has said, right? Dear leader has promised me that if I stay just one more day, it'll get better, I swear, right? Well, easier to do that here. And, you know, at least you're familiar, at least you're comfortable somehow. You can make it make sense versus walking out that door to a grim, horrible uncertainty. But the one thing you are absolutely certain of when you're in that group or in that stuck relationship is you walk out that door, you are going to be alone. And that is more terrifying than what's being done to you in the group, you think. Because you're not going to be alone, but that's what you, that's, you know, that's the fear. So, without this group, my life would have no purpose, right? No meaning. Yes, meaningless. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Meaninglessness. This is the fourth one. One of the most powerful recruitment tools is offering a grand, all-encompassing meaning to life. You don't have meaning? Don't worry, I got one for you. Many people struggle with existential questions of purpose, and cults present themselves as the answer to those uncertainties, offering recruits a sense of divine purpose or a cosmic mission. And whether it is serving the guru, which it tends to ultimately be, by the way, but the language and the highfalutin concepts and dogma around it are almost, you know, universally about some divine purpose. You are a spiritual star child. You are a heavenly being sent to earth, right? You are a corrupted soul who must earn your, you know, karmic redemption. There's a million variations of, you know, somehow you screwed up, you messed up, you're in a bad, tarnished, corrupted, spiritually awful way, and we're going to fix you. Or intellectually, or personality-wise, or ego-wise. You know, the landmark doesn't get into your spirit, but they certainly address your ego and your personality. And there can be just as much meaning to be found there as there can be in supernatural beliefs or ideas. People can also be made to feel special and unique because of the sacred science, the sacred lore, the confession culture, the loaded language. These work together in a well-oiled machine of a cult to give you the special exalted feeling, the special purpose, the divine path, sets you apart from others. Makes you better. Makes you more good, moral, righteous. Who doesn't want to be all those things? Can make you richer, is going to make you richer, is going to make you more powerful, is going to make you, right? There's the promise of the future meaning and purpose that you'll have by following the path, doing the 12 steps. Fulfilling a grand purpose, exactly, right? In fact, even in Scientology and the Mormon Church and other guru confidential stuff, they'll offer like high-level stuff that you're not ready for yet. And the purpose becomes getting to that level, and then you're going to then find your true meaning, your true purpose, the true meaning of life, right? I can't give it to you now, but you'll get there, you'll get it, right? This constant, yeah, you'll get it back tenfold, exactly. All of these things are playing on these existential realities, which is why you see and hear about some kind of belief structure or method or something that the cult's going to do to specifically zone in on these things. You can almost guarantee that if you're dealing with a destructive cult, somehow one or more than one of these, definitely, I'd say at least two, are absolutely accounted for and dealt with, and you don't have to worry anymore about these things. And this gives, as I mentioned, an exaggerated, hyped up feeling of certainty and security and meaning. It's intoxicating. And in a communal sense, and in a community where other people are feeling that they're on the same page as you are and vice versa, well, it's, you know, it's powerful stuff. It's not how you feel at work. It's not how you feel at church, at least not my experience of church. You know, what I've seen with people going to Christian churches or other, I've really only been physically into Christian churches, but the services, I've been to many services of many different denominations, and every single time I've never even felt anything coming close to the sort of communal feeling we Scientologists had in the Shrine Auditorium or at our events, right? In even smaller briefings or gatherings, it could be even more intense. But the sense of togetherness and we're all on the same page and we're all fighting together against, you know, that esprit de corps feeling is a word Hubbard used. That's powerful stuff. Okay, so cults. So to sort of get toward wrapping up, I guess. I finished off a little earlier than I thought I would, which is good in terms of my papers. Cults exploit these core existential truths by preying on common human fears and insecurities, offering recruits the illusion of safety, meaning, and belonging in a chaotic and uncertain world. For those already in the cult, these same existential pressures are used to reinforce belief, often trapping them in a cycle of dependence on the cult for their psychological and emotional well-being. The existential truths that define the human experience, mortality, freedom, isolation, and the search for meaning, become tools for manipulation in the hands of a cult leader. So there you go. All right. Certainly happy to, if you had any other questions for me while we're going along here, happy to pick them up. Oh, hey, Lori. I did. I turned off the calls because it was kind of costing me money every month, and I wasn't really, after, you know, we've been on the air doing this show for a couple years, and it really never developed into a call-in show where people, you know, like new, fresh people were calling in every week to talk to me or ask questions or anything. I'm just not that guy. So I don't have that audience. So that's kind of why I dropped the call. And I thought, well, I'll keep conversations going. And most of the time when I have Mel here, of course, I'm always trying to, you know, she pops in and engages in some conversation as well. But I'm sort of keeping it on that theme or that line is why that happened or why that changed. I feel like my all right. Leslie's asking me what my existential struggles are. Well, let me share something with you guys. Yeah, I'll share this with you guys. I think I've talked about this a little bit already anyway. I've mentioned that YouTube feels like a changing and sort of, maybe the word dying is too strong a word. That's probably too strong a word for where YouTube is at right now. But it definitely feels like the platform that is not where my work future lies. I'm struggling existentially with the fact that I'm, you know, this old white guy that people don't really want to watch or listen to much. And so I'm thinking that the format for me to get what I want to get out there is probably books. It's taken more seriously. It's a longer term sort of thing. I initially got into doing videos because I wanted to get my messages out there, thinking that people weren't going to read my writing or my articles or things I could get out there. And I was right to a degree. I certainly got me out there and got me a channel and got me work and put me on this path. But I'm endlessly disappointed by YouTube and the lack of returns on YouTube. You know, existentially, that is a crisis for me. This is my job, and yet I feel I'm failing miserably at it, if I'm really being honest. And I don't mean this in a bad, harsh, like I'm all down on myself and I feel so. This isn't a pity party. It's how I feel about this platform and the work I'm trying to do. And I'm not exactly happy about it, but I'm not trying to, evoke emotion here. I'm just saying that this has been a struggle. I'm not reaching the people I want to reach and the numbers I want to reach. And I have been, I feel I've been bad-mouthed out of existence here, and it sucks. And so I'm kind of shifting my attention, not to stop what I'm doing. I'm not stopping what I'm doing, but it feels like my future lies in published work and getting books out there. So I grew up wanting to be a writer, and I am a writer. And everything I've always done on this channel has been a reflection of my writing first. And so I feel like if my existential crisis or whatever is figuring out that maybe that is the professional route or line or whatever I need to follow to get my work out there, so that people will read it and want to engage with it and get something out of it, because they're not doing that with my videos, that's for sure. I'm not reaching anybody with this channel. It's more of a hobby at this point, and I feel really bad about that. I had much bigger goals for what I wanted to do with my work here, and instead this entire community just turned on me and made me out to be this really horrible bad person, and I can't seem to recover from that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to carry on with the work that I can do, and I feel like I'm good at. I feel like I do something good when I put this information out there. So I don't want to stop doing that. But I want to do it in a way that is going to reach people and really help a lot of people, if I can. I don't know, maybe maybe I've got delusions of grandeur. Maybe I do. And that's okay. I'm coming to terms with that. So one way or another, I'm going to get my book done, and I've got other books planned, and I want to write them. I really, really, really do. The other thing that I work on, yes, Fluffy, the nastiness around ASL, yes, definitely had a significant impact on my channel and others. Yes, it had a significant negative impact on the entire ex-Scientology community and world, and it will never be the same. He ruined so much. But anyway, okay, so I don't want to invite even more of that drama and nonsense, right? I really don't. The other thing that I find myself working through these days, and you've seen and heard a lot about this in the last couple months, has been the ADHD stuff and learning about it and coming to, like I said, coming to terms with that. It's all a work in progress as far as I'm concerned. I think these terms for neurological conditions, all of them, I think all of them, right? Whether they're cluster A, B, whatever, however you want to categorize this stuff or break it down for people. I think this is all a work in progress. I think we're all still at the infancy of figuring these things out. But within the knowledge we have now and the understanding we have of what ADHD is, it's been a massive force in my life, in my thinking and my behavior, the way I relate with people and stuff, so much. And I'm really glad that I'm hitting it now. For a while, I had a lot of regrets about it. I was like, why didn't I know about this earlier? If I only known, but growing up, it wouldn't have really helped, I don't think, a whole lot. They weren't dealing with it whole well in the 70s and 80s. You know, they're barely dealing with it now. People are still in denial about it. People still talk about it as though there's some judgment factor, you know, the disabled, the mentally disabled or challenged or people with conditions. Man, just endless ridicule out there. People are cruel when it comes to this stuff. And so I'm glad I'm learning all about it now after I went through the cult recovery curve. And that stuff is all kind of unburdened and gone. I'm pushing it in this direction, right? It's all gone. It's in my past, my future. You know, I'm moving into the future, dealing with the ADHD stuff and learning so much about myself. So that's a positive. That's also a real big positive for me on that. So those are some of the things that are on my mind these days. Yeah. Didn't know I was going to go there today, but that's, I guess having all this stuff as a precursor got me going on this, and I'm willing to tell you guys about it. Thank you. Cry tears of hot yes, huh? Good. Okay, so that's where we're at. I wanted to let me switch gears here. And again, none of what I just said in the last 10 minutes means that I'm changing anything right now. I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. I have a podcast. I love it. I have a Q&A show. I love doing that. I love what I do. I just don't love that more people don't love it. But what are you going to do? I'm me. I am who I am. And I've got what I've got to offer. And I want to help people and do the best I can with it. Yeah. Heavy stuff there. Okay, so let's switch gears and let me tell you about the podcast this week because it's kind of fun. It's interesting. I did a longer talk with Anthony Spurgeon, who some of you have seen in the comments from time to time. He comes around, especially in the Q&As. He's a former traditional Catholic. He grew up that way. And we spend some time kind of breaking that down and talking about that. And is it a cult? Is it culty? What is it? You know, you hear about trad cats, you hear about Mel Gibson, you hear about Jim Caviezel. I mean, they're like these celebrities, these people who are a little fringy, a little weird, right? They got some weird ideas. Well, they also happen to be traditional Catholics. Is that a reflection of that? Well, we talked about that. We talked about a lot of stuff. So I hope you'll check out the podcast tomorrow, the Speaking of Cults podcast. And then I hope you'll join me on Sunday for Critical Q&A live right here as usual. And then we'll do the Tony show on Sunday. Like I said, my mom's going to be here this weekend. I'll ask her if she wants to go live with me. I have no idea if she's going to want to or not. And if she does, then you'll see her here with me. Otherwise, I will see you on Sunday live. So that's our show. Let's wrap up with our critical thinking cards. Give these a quick little shuffle here. I will definitely not drink lots of Jim Beam to cope. All that stuff does now is give me a headache. Alcohol just doesn't, not big on it. Okay. Okay, here we go. You can have an optimism bias, but you know what else you can have? A pessimism bias. You overestimate the likelihood of negative outcomes. Pessimism is often a defense mechanism against disappointment. Perhaps the worst aspect of pessimism is that even if something good happens, you'll probably feel pessimistic about it anyway. Yeah, so you can always frame something badly or negatively in your life. Maybe practice not doing that and see how it feels. All right. Cool, guys. Thanks for coming around and watching me blabber on at a mad rate. I always appreciate you guys, my critics out there, and don't let anything I'm saying make you think otherwise. I love you guys. All right. And on that, bye-bye.